Lewis Hamilton has just experienced his first real internal shock since joining Ferrari, and it goes straight to the heart of how the team operates. After a disastrous 2025 season, Hamilton's race engineer has been removed from the cockpit role and reassigned behind the scenes. Officially, Ferrari avoids the word dismissal. Unofficially, inside the paddock, this looks very much like a quiet demotion and a clear attempt to draw a line under a failed project by changing the voice on the radio. Think about the scale of that decision for a moment. Hamilton spent more than a decade working alongside the same race engineer at Mercedes, building trust through championships, pole positions, and iconic moments like "It's Hammer Time." And yet, less than a year into his Ferrari chapter, the engineer placed next to him has already been sidelined. Riccardo Adami will no longer be the voice guiding Hamilton during races from 2026 onwards, following a season in which almost nothing worked as planned. Ferrari, predictably, is framing this as a natural internal reorganization. Adami hasn't left the company. He's been shifted into simulator and testing duties, far from the spotlight and far from the pressure of Sundays. But when a team removes the race engineer of its star driver immediately after a collective failure, that isn't just restructuring, it's accountability being redirected. And more bluntly, it's about finding someone to take the fall. Hamilton's 2025 season with Ferrari was a harsh reality check. No title fight, performances below expectations, and an uncomfortable gap to Charles Leclerc across the year. Over the radio, the problems were hard to ignore: delayed pit calls, confused strategies, and a lack of rhythm between driver and engineer that never truly settled. When a project collapses like that, Ferrari has a choice. Admit that the car concept was wrong, admit that internal pressure, politics, and philosophy failed, or change the easiest component in the system. They chose the engineer. By keeping Adami within the organization but removing him from the front line, Ferrari sends a very specific political message. Someone must pay the price for the failure, but the structure itself remains untouched. You stay just out of sight. Contrast that with Hamilton's previous reality at Mercedes. Peter Bono Bonington wasn't just an engineer, he became part of Hamilton's identity. When Hamilton left the team, Bono stayed on and was promoted within the organization, with no sense of blame attached. Their partnership was built on stability, trust, and long-term vision. At Ferrari, the partnership didn't even last a full regulation cycle. That alone tells you a great deal about the environment Hamilton has stepped into. When results dip, personnel changes come quickly, not necessarily because the individual is the core problem, but because they are the most visible lever to pull. And this all comes at a critical moment. With the major regulation overhaul looming in 2026, Ferrari cannot afford another season like 2025, especially with Lewis Hamilton positioned as the face of the project. Removing his race engineer now feels like a warning shot. If you are close to the hepta champion and the results don't come, you are the first to go. Ferrari now faces a far more difficult task than it may appear on the surface. Finding a race engineer who can truly speak Hamilton's language is not a quick fix. That chemistry took years to build at Mercedes. Rushing the process risks creating an even bigger problem. Because if the relationship doesn't click early in 2026, the narrative will shift rapidly from blaming the engineer to questioning whether Ferrari, the project, or even the move itself was ever the right fit for Hamilton. So this decision raises a fundamental question. Is Ferrari genuinely correcting a mistake, or is it simply sacrificing another name to protect its own image after a humiliating year alongside one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history? Was the engineer really the problem, or is this just another chapter in Ferrari's long struggle to manage a true project leader under pressure? Let us know what you think. Was Adami made a scapegoat, or did Ferrari do the right thing by cutting out any source of friction ahead of 2026?